today as they have for centuries, carving this land of standing rock and sandstone cliffs. Today, there is no one who hears the wind. No people who walk this canyon or drink from this stream. But if you listen carefully, you can hear voices. Voices in the wind. Voices from the past. Voices of the desert people. There were many people who called the desert their home. They had many names. Ute, Pima, Navajo, Hopi. But the people who were here before these were called the Anasazi, the ancient ones. These are examples of their rock art. The Anasazi were living in the desert as long ago as 2,000 years. Why they chose to live here, we'll probably never know. For while they left behind their pictures, they did not have a written language. Perhaps they were a peaceful people and found safety in the desert, away from other hostile tribes. Early homes of the Anasazi were simple. Some were made of stone slabs stacked one on top of another. Later in their development, the homes became larger. Family joined family, creating communities. The style of their stonework changed from generation to generation, and they now used clay to keep the stones together. Logs were used to support upper stories, and the Anasazi began to build their homes 2 and even 3 stories high. After 1,000 years of steady development, the Anasazi built their largest and finest dwellings, like Pueblo Bonito. It once stood 5 stories high and may have housed as many as 1,000 people. Then, about 800 years ago, the Anasazi began to do something unusual. They began to build their homes high into canyon walls. The ruins of these cliff dwellings can be found throughout the Southwest. They were usually built below massive overhanging rocks. The homes were not only hidden, but were difficult to attack. The Anasazi grew beans, corn, and other crops on the flat mesas that were located directly above their homes. Each day they had to climb steep trails to go to and from their fields. They made fires next to their homes for cooking and warmth during the cold winters. They sharpened their tools and weapons on the sandstone rocks used to make their walls. And here too they made their rock art. The Anasazi made beautiful pottery. They wove baskets from the bark of trees. From the bones of animals, they made needles and awls. And from flint and other rock, they chipped weapons that were not only functional, but also beautiful. Who were the Anasazi? Where did they come from? How did they get here? While many Native Americans explain their origin in a different way, most anthropologists believe the following. About 30,000 years ago, North America looked much like it does today. A narrow stretch of ocean separated Asia from this continent. There were no people living here. Then, ice began to advance across the northern hemisphere. As it did, sea levels dropped, exposing a land bridge connecting Asia with North America. Large game animals like bison and mammoth crossed this land bridge, entering the new continent, soon followed by Asian hunters. There were probably several migrations over thousands of years, and eventually the people spread throughout North and South America before the ice retreated and the land bridge became covered by water again. There were hundreds of tribes, but each can be classified into one of several groups according to the natural environment in which they lived. The names of the groups are the Eastern Woodlands, the Plains, the Southwest, the Great Basin, the Plateau, California, and the Northwest Coast. Each of these groups lived in an environment that was unlike the others. None of the others lived in an environment quite like this one, the Southwest, the land of the desert people. This region is dry and rugged. There is little vegetation. How was it that people could live here? What were their lives like? For the answers, we need only listen to the wind that has blown for centuries.
I am Akina. This is my father, Tokama. We have been hunting most of the afternoon, and even though my father is the best hunter in our clan, we have not been very lucky. The rains have not come in many passings of the moon. The creeks are nearly dry, and my father says that there are fewer rabbits because of it.
Esquichola tantata, hankabisani, anjisinyani aramama. Oh, esquichorata matachila.
It is only a very small rabbit. It won't feed many mouths, but still our people will be pleased. While we have been hunting, my mother has been back at our village, preparing for our dinner. First, she starts a fire by spinning a stick on a piece of wood. The spinning causes the wood to heat up. Shiva, my little sister, watches very carefully. In a few years, she will have to know how to start a fire herself. Soon, the wood gets hot enough to make dry grass smolder. My mother then blows on this until flames appear. At just the right moment, she takes a dry yucca leaf to pass the flame to some twigs and sticks. She adds to this until there is a real fire. Corn is eaten at practically every meal. We grow it ourselves. The kernels first must be ground. They are then formed into patties. Even Shiva helps out by making a patty or two. This is what they look like after they've been cooked on a hot rock. Cornbread. With a little bit of honey, they taste very good. We grow several different types of corn, beans, and other crops as well. And we also pick wild grain, nuts, and berries. While my mother cooks, my father will make more tools. Many of our knives, axes, and arrowheads are made the same way, from flint, chert, and other rocks found in our area. My father has broken a piece of flint off of a larger piece. He uses a hammerstone to chip away at the flint. He must be careful. If he hits the flint too hard or in the wrong place, it will shatter. Gradually, the flint is worked into the desired shape. This breaks off even smaller pieces of the flint, and the edges of the tool become very sharp. In just a short time, my father has made a knife. It is very sharp and is used for cutting, scraping, and chopping. My father can make many tools, axes, cutters, and scrapers of many types, and of course, arrowheads. Sometimes we put handles on our tools. This makes them easier to use and more effective. We eat 2 meals each day, and we always eat outdoors, unless it is raining. We're very hungry, as it has been a long time since we had our first meal. There is little talk at our meals. We are too hungry. After dinner, we might tell stories, or better still, play a game of hidden stone. The object of the game is to guess under which cone a turquoise stone is hidden. The sooner you find the turquoise, the more points you score. The next day is one of great excitement. My father and my uncle have been chosen by our clan to travel far to the south to trade with people of another tribe. For the first time, my father has agreed to take me with him, even though our journey might be dangerous. We will see places I have only heard about. The Great Stone Bridge, the Woman of Stone and her bashful daughter, and Balancing Rock. This will be a great adventure. While we are gone, my mother and sister will have plenty to do. This will be a good time for them to make some new pottery from clay found in our area. My mother begins by working clay with her hands, making sure there are no air bubbles inside. Next, she places a piece in the bottom of a bowl and spreads it out evenly. When the inside of the bowl is covered, my mother places a coil around the edge and smooths this out. She keeps adding coils and smoothing until the pot reaches the desired shape. After drying in the sun, the pot changes to a lighter color and it is placed in the fire where it is covered with another pot. Wood is stacked around this. After several hours in the fire, the pot becomes very hard and waterproof. After firing, the pot is decorated. Practically all of our pottery is painted the same color, black on white. Another job that always needs being done is sewing. My mother is adding a rabbit fur to a blanket. As always, Shiva is right by her side. The needle my mother uses is carved from the bone of a deer, another animal we hunt in our area. We use rabbit furs for our blankets, robes, and clothing. We also use deerskin, but rabbit fur is much softer, and it is Shiva's favorite. My father and I have come to the place where we meet the traders from the other tribe. My father has met them before, and they have become friends. One of the traders, Loho, has brought a strange green bird. It is said to come from a faraway land. The bird is very friendly and quite smart. With just a little help from Loho, it will lie on its back and roll over. The traders have other things I have never seen. A beautiful shell that comes from a great body of water far to the west. And red coral, which can be made into beautiful jewelry. My father examines a large block of black glass. It is found only in special areas. Many excellent tools can be made from a piece this large. My father wants to trade deer antlers he has brought for the black glass, but Loho doesn't seem interested. He says the glass is worth much more than the antlers. My father doesn't agree, and the two dicker back and forth. Until finally, Loho gives in. Later that day, Loho performs a blessing. Burning sage is passed among the traders to protect them on their return trip. Sage grows just about everywhere in the desert and is known to have special powers. We are all happy to take part in this blessing, for there are many evil spirits in the world who live in the Forbidden Land. They have great powers and can bring evil to the Anasazi: sickness, drought, death. Just as there are evil spirits, there are good spirits too. It is a spirit who is responsible for the rains that bring needed water to the desert. It is a spirit who is responsible for the wind which spreads the seeds of the desert plants. If our people lead good lives, respecting nature in all its creatures, we will be permitted to live with the good spirits after we die. It had been 2 days since we left the traders, and we were passing through the land of the hostiles, a fierce, war-loving people. We hoped we wouldn't see any. My uncle dropped his bag, hoping this would slow the hostiles down. It did, but not for long.
Coach, go!
We hid in the cave for most of the day. Finally, when we thought it was safe, we left. During the chase, we lost some of the things we had traded for. Our people will not be too disappointed, for they will be happy we have returned with our lives.
Akina, his father, and his uncle made it back safely, but the days of the cliff dwellers were coming to an end. No one is sure why, but the Anasazi abandoned their dwellings around the year 1300. It is believed the people settled in other parts of the Southwest, where they became known as Pueblo Indians. Here they built adobe villages along rivers and farmed the land. They lived in peace for hundreds of years until a new people, the Europeans, entered the continent. Indians everywhere were forced to give up their way of life and to live on small reservations, areas of land set aside for Indians. No longer able to hunt and fish in the old ways, the Indians were rationed food and clothing by the government. Some government agents who were supposed to help the Indians were dishonest. They stole money and supplies, so the Indians never got all that they were entitled to. As a result, the Indians lived in total poverty, and many starved. Tribes were forced to give up many of their traditions and could no longer perform many of their religious rites and ceremonies. Many Indian children were separated from their families and were sent to strict boarding schools where they were forced to give up their Indian ways. In the 1950s, the government encouraged Native Americans to relocate to the nation's cities where they could find jobs and live in modern ways. But not all Indians chose to do this. Today, Indians can live anywhere they want, and many choose to live off reservations in cities and towns, employed in the same sorts of jobs as other Americans. But more than 500,000 Indians prefer to live on reservations throughout the United States. Life here is much better than it used to be, and in some ways is similar to life anywhere else. Indians drive cars and live in modern dwellings like other Americans. They dress in modern clothing and shop in stores. They go to movies. Many attend Christian churches. Indian children go to schools that look like schools anywhere and study the same kinds of subjects. They play the same sorts of games and enjoy the same things as other American children. While reservation life is a lot like life anywhere else, there are some big differences. Unemployment is very high. On some reservations, 4 out of 5 people are out of work, and because of it, alcoholism and poverty are widespread. One of the reasons unemployment is so high is because few businesses will come to the reservation. That's why some Indians are starting up their own. Zuni Technologies is one of them. This furniture company is owned and operated by Zuni Indians here in New Mexico. There are plenty of furniture companies in the United States, but this one is unique. All of its furniture is accented with beautiful Zuni designs and colors that have long been associated with the Zuni people. Zuni Technologies has not only brought needed jobs to the reservation, but its furniture is prized by people throughout the country. But good-paying jobs like these are few. In recent years, many tribes have opened gambling casinos in order to create jobs and bring in additional income. But only a few tribes, those near major cities, have actually profited from casinos. A few Native Americans are able to earn good livings by selling their arts and crafts. The Navajo are famous for their beautiful jewelry. Talented silversmiths can earn hundreds, even thousands of dollars for a single piece. Their designs often include turquoise, coral, and a variety of other materials. Navajo weavers use simple looms to weave rugs and blankets. This weaver is showing her niece how to weave so that she might be able to do it herself one day. When this rug is finished, it will fetch thousands of dollars from a tourist. Indians have been doing beadwork for many generations, and some still do it today. Beadwork like this is prized by collectors, and a single piece might sell for thousands of dollars. Crafts like these not only bring in needed income, but they enable craftspeople to stay in touch with their traditional ways. And that's important to many Indians. That's why some Pueblo families prefer to live in the very pueblos in which their ancestors lived. Some pueblos are hundreds of years old, and many have no electricity or running water. That's why this Navajo family still keeps its traditional home, the Hogan, and will visit it on special occasions. That's why some Indians still plant corn in the old ways and use grinding stones to grind it into flour, just like their ancestors did. That's why they will occasionally cook Indian fried bread over an open fire, in the same way food was cooked centuries ago. It's why they still gather wild plants and make Navajo tea. That's why some families still raise sheep, which has been a Navajo tradition for hundreds of years. Sheep are important not only for their meat, but also for their wool, which is used to weave blankets and rugs. That's why Indians everywhere continue to celebrate their ancient ceremonies and festivals. Some of these dances date back hundreds, even thousands of years, and may be similar to those that were performed by the Anasazi. So, while the Anasazi may be gone, their spirit and many of their traditions live on.